I believe everybody has a dream and an ideal idea of the career that they want to establish for themselves. And from a very young age, we have all had aspirations and dreams of what we want to become when we grow up. A doctor, a lawyer, an actor, but not all paths are straight, because on our pursuit to attaining career success, we come across, setbacks, there are, roadblocks, there are stumbles along the way, and people end up even sometimes leaving the country to pursue greener pastures. Well, the UN has established that about, or rather more than 620,000 Ugandans live and work outside the country, working in East Africa, in Europe, in Asia, in America, the Middle East, among others. Well, today we are going to be discussing career limitations. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, please head on to our social media, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and that's at SEETV Uganda, and leave your comment. We definitely would love to hear from you. In studio from me on my right is Agi Uwase, and on the left Shivan Auma. Ladies, today we are going to be discussing career limitations in Uganda. And just for reference, the term career limiting is an action or fault in one that damages your chances to becoming successful in your job. And career limiting habits you should avoid include being unreliable, being the other one being resistance, and so many others. So we'll be discussing that later on in the show. But to start off, ladies, I'd like to ask, what are some of the career limitations you have encountered on your journey to career success? I'll start with you, Agi.
Okay, well, quite a number of them, but the most important one, I think, is being asked for experience. Because I remember, you're very passionate about this career, you're passionate about being in the media, you are talented, you have probably studied it, but they're asking you for a 4-year experience. I'm just fresh from campus. Where am I supposed to get the experience from? I'm supposed to get experience if I'm given an opportunity to work or, to pursue my career. So I think for me, that was one of them. And then the other one was always fear. Because even growing up, I remember when I told my mom I'm interested in TV, I'm interested in radio, she's like, oh, I said, don't do it. And that was my mom, who really loves me a lot. But she's like, don't do it. There's a lot of pressure that comes with being in the media. You're under scrutiny. You're all there in the public eye. People will criticize you. People will, say things about you that are not even true. So you have to have thick skin. And I don't think you have that thick skin, to withstand every other hurdle that will come along the way in your media career. So yes, that caught me thinking, should I really pursue this, or I should actually play safe and be somewhere in an office where I don't have to go through all the things that you have to go through as a media personality. So yes, that period of me having to think about it and rethink about it. Okay, I could have been somewhere by then. And I think the other thing, well, people in Uganda don't believe in the youths.
In the what?
In the youth, like the youth. They don't believe in us. And I'll give you an example. When you see 70-year-olds, holding these offices and don't want to leave because it's them that have the experience, because it's them that know every corner. What they talk about, the old broom knows, every corner. So yes, I think it's limiting, and they don't believe that a young person can actually come into a big office and do something, and they're productive. So also that as well, because I'll tell you, the other day I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and they say, there's this radio presenter who has been on radio for almost like about 30 years, doing the same program, right?
Yes.
And with radio, there's usually 1 to 3 programs or 4 all through the day. And there's so many people out there, so many young people who have studied journalism who want to be on radio, but they don't have that opportunity because one person is holding, a job for the next 30 years. So by the time they leave, there's even space for just one person. Okay, maybe let me put it this way. Maybe when it comes to some careers like media, there are not so many opportunities, that's for sure. And yet, if you're to look at the number of students who go to university to study journalism, there are quite a number. A lot of them. Makerere University, I remember, there's so many journalism students. After law, then journalism had, a very big number of students. UCU and so many other universities. So when you look at people studying these careers, including myself, because I were limited in that way as well. It was hard for me, to get onto the career of my dreams. I took some time, by the way. So if all these limitations weren't there, I think maybe I could have started my media career, you know, as early as probably 22.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the ones that I've encountered.
What about you, Siobhan?
Is career limiting in Uganda, or have I encountered? I think I would say to a greater extent, yes. But again, to an extent, Uganda being Uganda, also, you know, there is something to learn. You know, there is something to learn because in most offices it is Anyakomani, who knows you, what name do you carry. So also that is something that you learn. But I want to say that when it comes to Uganda, I don't think even in offices there is like a proper channel of streamlining on how positions should be taken up. That is why you'll find what Agi mentioned, that you'll find in an office, a CEO is about 80 years, is about 70 years, and they have been in that position for God knows how long. How about you leave the younger blood to actually take up these positions? But the reason as to why many of these people do not want to leave these jobs is because they either do not have any source of income, or they do not have a retirement plan, and that already shows you that there is a problem in the country, because people should be able, at the age of 70, you should be able to step out of office, retire, and live a reasonable life. In the countries like US, in countries like, in cities like Toronto, I mean, these things are done, it's not news. But in Uganda, you find that a 25-year-old is fighting for a job with a 65-year-old. Like, that doesn't make sense. There needs to be proper channels of how positions can take place. So for me, I would say there is something that as Ugandans, Uganda teaches us. There's something you can pick when it comes to career. But I would say going also abroad, or as outsiders people would call it, it could also add something very significant on your CV, because there's some things you will never learn if you do not leave your home country, because you will not see them.
So you haven't faced any career limitations or challenges?
For now, not yet, because I'm still on the path to career, and this is just like a tip of the iceberg. We're still moving the waters.
Well, unemployment in Uganda is one of the major challenges faced by a lot of people in Uganda, and that is by the the National Bureau of Statistics. And it goes on to say that the unemployment rate among the youth is at 64%, and that is within the young population that is nationally defined between the ages of 15 to 30 years of age. And then it also goes on to say that at least 16,397 Ugandans left the country. That was between January and February of this year in search of employment, and that is according to data from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Well, the details are also contained in the Ministry of Gender Migrant Labor report that covers at least 6 years from 2016 and part of 2022. And the report indicates that at least an average of 24,086 Ugandans leave Uganda annually in search of employment, especially in the Middle East. Of course, there are other countries within the Middle East, such as Saudi Arabia, that has, I think, the biggest number of people, of Ugandans who have migrated there to work. Then there is also Qatar, there is also Jordan, there is United Arab Emirates. Yes, that is Saudi Arabia. There is Somalia, there is Iraq, there is Afghanistan, there is Kuwait. I mean, the numbers are big. I do not have the time to break it down. But however, some of the career limiting challenges that a number of people face in the country include, number one, nepotism. There's a lot of, preference of people in office to give a job to, say, somebody from their region or a tribesmate, or a family member, as opposed to giving it to somebody who is a lot more qualified. Number two, like you also said, there is lack of training, enough trainings. They want you to join the workforce with already 10 years experience, and yet you just graduated. I mean, I just graduated, so where do I come with 10 years employment? Then there's, again, also very toxic work environments, and there's a career coach that I would like you to actually listen to. And if you are confused as to whether you're working in a toxic environment or not, she gives you a few points, because number one, that is the biggest career limiting challenge, especially facing corporate Uganda. Take a watch.
5 signs that show that you are working in a toxic work environment. My name is Fiona. I'm a career coach and work psychologist. Number 1, there are punitive measures against people that speak up for any reason. Number 2, bullies run the place and they even get rewarded by being appointed into leadership roles. 3, There are very outrageous performance demands that are expected of employees, yet they get little resources or support to do their job. 4, rules and policies are inconsistently applied. And lastly, there's an extremely high level of turnover there.
Well, there are also other causes of career limitations in Uganda. Another one is a lot of people with disabilities are not catered for in the work or corporate spaces. It makes the facilities are very inaccessible for people with disabilities. The equipment is not, conducive or upgraded to help persons with disabilities, achieve their tasks. And you find that there's a really low, employment of persons with disabilities in, corporate Uganda. Another one is, it could be age. Because for some jobs they require you to be a certain age, and you can't be over that age to get that job. For instance, people who work in film, sometimes it can be very limiting. People who work as models, it can also be very limiting because you have to be of a certain age. Another one is education. We all know that education in Uganda is quite wanting, and not a number of people are actually able to justify their certificates or their degrees or their diplomas. So I want to ask you guys the next one. How were you able to plan your career through? Okay, what steps did you take to get here? And when you found those limitations, you said that you did face a number of them. Shiva says she hasn't yet faced any, but you have. So what steps did you take to, overcome those ones so that you can get to a place where you are, where you at least are seeing, a light at the end of the tunnel?
To start with, I had to believe in myself, because I remember I mentioned how my mother told me the media industry is quite difficult, which is actually the truth. Yeah. You have to have thick skin. And I had to believe in myself. I remember I sat down, I was 18, just fresh from high school, and sat down and I said, I remember there's a time we're talking about career paths here, and I said I either wanted to be a lawyer or a journalist. And I had to sit down and say, at the end of the day, this is what I want. I want the media. I want to be on TV, I want to be on radio, I want to be a journalist. So it didn't matter in that moment what my mom could have said or what any other person could have said. I just woke up and I believed in myself and went hard for what I wanted. And the surprising thing is I was too determined that I didn't mind whether I had help or not, because which is actually the truth.
Yes.
If right now you need all the connections, all the social networking, and technical know who. Yes, I hope I've said that right. So I must say I didn't have all that, but I still went after what I wanted. So for someone out there, I think it starts from you as a person. You have to discover what you want. And if, let's say, the career that you want to pursue, I mean, every other career has its own limitations. Look at what you want. Because for me, I believe that, I remember telling someone that if I died before, being on TV, before being on radio, I'll die a very unsatisfied person. Yes. That is my truth. And I don't want anyone to ever be on their deathbed, or, getting out of this world without having to pursue that something that they've always wanted. So first of all, irrespective of what anyone has to say, believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, you come first. Like, your belief in yourself comes first, because sometimes it doesn't matter. Someone else could be like, oh, Siobhan, you can actually be this, but you can be a model. You are tall, you're gorgeous, you're all that. But then, no, listen, I'm giving an example. And then you as a person, you don't believe in yourself. Trust me, even if you take that career path because someone has told you, you will fail at it, because you don't believe that you deserve it, or you don't believe, or maybe it's not even something that you want so bad.
Yes.
So believing in yourself is top of the list. And the other thing is you just have to find the right mentors or mentors.
Yes.
I remember this time when I started my media career, I didn't have the right mentors, that's for sure. Until later on in time, I think I was even about 24 there, still juggling, trying this and that. So I had to find the right person, to go to. And this is someone who works in the media. And, at least because they have the experience of the media, they've been there, done it. So yes, at least for them to give me the right advice. I could get advice from elsewhere, but for someone who is already in the industry, I think has helped me a big deal, and to maneuver and navigate through this career. So I've mentioned believing in yourself, and the other one is finding the right mentors, and the other one is God. Pretty much at the end of the day,
you have to pray.
Yes, you have to pray. I think life gets easier when you know God. That's for sure. I mean, you will encounter all these problems, all these limitations, all these difficulties. But for me, at the end of the day, I'm like, thank you, God, for my job. Thank you for my career. I'm meeting this and this difficulty, but I know for sure that I'll go through it because of you. So yeah, those are top of my list.
Yeah. What about you, Siobhan?
The first one I think would be, first of all, setting realistic goals. You know, like you were giving an example. Say, for example, you meet Siobhan, she could be a model, she's tall, she's gorgeous, and I was like, already that alone, like I don't believe in myself that I can actually achieve that. So the first one is to set realistic goals, but also to believe in yourself. When it's realistic, you're able to know that, okay, I can achieve this. Believe in yourself, but also do enough research on what you want to become. What you want to become, does it flourish in Uganda? Okay, if it doesn't, does it flourish in a country like, let's say, is it Mexico? Okay, if it does, how much does it cost? I think it's very important to find out these things, because for some people have felt like, for example, courses like engineering, I've come across so many people who would say, when it comes to engineering or civil aviation or wanting to be a pilot, Uganda may not be the best country. Then they move on maybe to China because they want to become civil engineers. So it's very important that when you believe in yourself, make the research, surround yourself also with the right people, the right company, depending on the kind of career path that you want to take. Still, the people that you surround yourself with should be people that are actually already taking part in that particular career path, so that it's very important. But also weigh your options, look at the pros, look at the cons, look at the people who are doing this job that you want to do. How much are you getting? Is that an income that you want? Is there growth? There are some jobs, there are some organizations where there is no growth. So even as you enter the job market, you also say, okay, I believe in myself, I have the confidence, I'm going to do this, but is there growth? Is value being added onto me, or am I the one constantly adding the value to the company? Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to double back a bit and also just mention a few other career limitations in Uganda. Number one, the other one is low pay. Now, that has also been a very big problem for a lot of people who work in this country. Very, very low pay. If you see people who have traveled, say, to the Middle East, they earn way more. When people travel there and they're doing domestic work, they earn way more than domestic workers who work here in Uganda. For instance, in the Middle East, they could earn from $2,000 to $500 a month, whereas here in Uganda, the maximum a domestic worker could work for is maybe 100,000 or 150,000, maybe 200,000 Uganda shillings, which is really not even that much. Now let's look at even corporate Uganda. I think the average that somebody earns is maybe 500,000 Uganda shillings. On top of that, you have bills. You have bills to pay. You have electricity, water. You have children to take to school. Some places you barely don't get it on time. So those are other limitations. Other limitations are, now this one is your own personal limitations. When you become your own problem, that is number one, when you do not factor in time. All right, time is money. So a lot of people go to work and waste time and are not being productive. So you're working a 9 to 5 and you find that in your 9 to 5, by the time you go home, you have just been on social media the whole day, or watching Netflix. The other one is lack of objectivity. You don't have a plan. You're just at work to be there because you're going to earn something at the end of the month. The other one is lack of flexibility, and these are all self-limiting when it comes to career. But now to go back to move forward to the question of how do you overcome career limitations. For instance, if you work in an environment that is career limiting, say your corporate office or wherever it is, you could be working with local government, wherever the case may be, and you're working in an environment where your boss is career limiting. That is a person who is, number one, very toxic. Number two, he or she does not give you credit for your hard work. Your boss is always playing office politics or playing favorites and sidestepping you or not giving you assignments or not letting you even just do your job. When you find yourself in an environment where you have a career limiting boss, you have either, number one, either play politics, office politics, and find other people from other departments. Actually, I feel that was the best thing, and it has worked for me along my career. Find people from other departments that can support you and always vouch for you, because numbers always outdo that one person who is opposing you. So always make friends with people from other departments. Number 2 is you can always quit. If you find yourself in a career limiting environment that is you've been working there for years, 5 years, no promotion, you've been there maybe even a year, and there's no personal growth to you as an individual, then perhaps you might as well just leave, because also that is another way. So don't stand in your own way if you want more for yourself and the environment that you're in is limiting, because that is what we're talking about. What is stopping you from achieving your goal? So whatever the case may be, you need to either 1, redirect your thoughts, number 2, quit, or number 3, find form coalitions and alliances within your workplace. All right, be diplomatic, because it's really good to be diplomatic. But let's move on, and I just want to mention for you a few countries in the world that have the most career opportunities. That number 1 is the United Kingdom, there's Germany, there's China, there's Hong Kong, there's Turkey, there's Australia, Canada, and France. Now, ladies, all right, I'm going to give you the floor to be a motivational speaker today. All right?
I don't like motivational speaking.
I mean, it's Monday. It's Monday, and there's somebody right now who is watching and feeling discouraged and not wanting to move on, or even is dragging their feet to work right now. What would you say to them?
Yes, just in relation to that, I saw someone who posted on Twitter yesterday, but one I think, and they said, if you are in a kind of job, if you're doing a job where you have, when you wake up, you have to grumble about it, and like, oh my God, I'm going to work today, it's better you quit. And you also mentioned that don't stand in your own way. But you see, it's quite difficult.
How so?
Like in Uganda right now. You talked about 64% of
yes,
the youths are very unemployed. And even this, while they are unemployed, sometimes they're always, talking about, I remember Siobhan in the morning said, to be a job creator than a seeker. It's so difficult being a job creator. I mean, we all would want to wake up and do something besides our job, but you don't even have the capital to start it, right? Those who haven't even gone to school, I mean, some are sent from school because they don't have the money, to complete tuition. Some haven't finished their exams for that reason. So when you tell someone like that, when they have, finally found something for themselves, like a job, even if it's 300,000, and they know at the end of the day, they are bringing in 300K after a month, that it's so difficult to quit. The economic crisis in Uganda is so bad, and that is for sure. I mean, yesterday, it was reported about 30 people in Karamoja died because of hunger. You can imagine. I mean, the fact that we cannot even afford to give our people food, people dying of hunger. There's a man who was on TV, was crawling because he didn't have energy and spent a lot of time without eating. Parents abandoning their children because they cannot take care of them. There's a child who was seated at home alone, and there was this person interviewing her, and she's saying she goes to like garden somewhere in the wilderness there in Karamoja and finds greens. They're not even greens, it's like grass. People have been reduced to, eating the same food as cattle and goats because they cannot even afford food, because the government itself cannot, it's not helping enough. Of course, now there are well-wishers coming in. So life is so difficult in Uganda, like for real. I mean, we wake up every day. We wake up every day and we are out there. We go out there and hustle.
But it's hard everywhere. It's difficult everywhere.
It is, but you see, you talked about UK. There's so many job opportunities in the UK. The fact that, let me tell you, someone studies law, someone has studied journalism, someone has studied ICT, but they cannot even get into the field of what they studied because there are no job opportunities. They resort to go and be to the Arab countries to be a domestic worker. Because why? The other day, Priva said that some law firms pay their lawyers 500,000 Uganda shillings a month. You're expected to buy a suit, you're expected to eat, you're expected to take care of yourself. Why wouldn't such a person leave and go to the United Arab Emirates and work there where she's going to get paid probably 2 million or 1 million a month? You are already abandoning your career. I mean, something that you love, because, in Uganda, there's no money There's no money. People are suffering for that reason. I don't want to be a motivational. That's why I'm still running away from the motivational speaking part of it, because sometimes you just have to be realistic with the situation at hand.
I like how Aggie has really tried to sugarcoat her message, but you see, the truth of the matter. First of all, to answer what Sarah asked, and she said for someone could be watching this morning and they're dragging their feet while coming to work. I would say the mere fact that you're dragging your feet while coming to work, don't show up. Because when you show up, then you're going to be a burden to those that are at work that actually want to be there. So do you and me a favor and stay in the bed, because you clearly do not want to come to work, but not in a bad way, because that is a decision, a personal decision that you need to make for yourself. But looking and adding on to what Aggie said, the truth of the matter is that unfortunately Uganda's economy and Uganda's employment sector is actually quite limiting. Then there's not so much job opportunities in Uganda compared to other countries. But also, let's look at the number of positions, the big positions that are taken up. They're mostly taken up by people that are mostly above the age of 40. And yet, Uganda's population is mainly youth, is mainly between the ages of 18 and about 25 or even 30. So if you have people that are in big positions and they're above the age of 40 and they're the ones taking up these positions above the age of 50 and they do not want to leave, that alone in a way is already career limiting. But when you look at and also something that I do not want to neglect is it is us or muntu wawansi who suffer, because guess what? The people in these so-called big offices, their children do not study in Uganda. They won't study in Uganda, and they are not studying in Uganda, and their jobs are already qualified somewhere in the US. It is us or muntu wawansi who will suffer. You take your child to a Ugandan school, you expect them to get a job, but they are not even they are not competing on a fair market, because you come and say, this one is a Uma Shivan, who knows her? This one is Aggie Kuwase. Okay, Aggie maybe is known because she's from this country, she's from this region, and then you'll be given a job. So already there is no fair play, there is no fair competition. The people in these big offices don't take their children to Ugandan schools, so really there is nothing much also the system can do. But also it is limiting, like there is no growth in a country like Uganda, because not all occupations actually have those opportunities. So for me, I would say, as you wake up each and every morning and yet say you're dragging your feet, first of all, quit your job. You should probably be looking for a job where you're appreciated and wanted, but also ask yourself why. And also, I think employers just do not make it hard for the people that you employ. Already as a country, we are struggling, So make it easier for people to perform their work. Give people their incentives, give people, a freedom to be able to explore, to grow, to move, promote them. And all these other beautiful things that are required in the job market. I think it's very important.
Well, for me personally, I don't think we should just say that this is how Uganda is and that is how it is and leave it at that, because we all have an opportunity to change the job market, to change our economy, to change our way of living here in our country. Because I mean, all the countries that I mentioned that are just winning in the employment market or with employment opportunities have put systems in place that work, and on top of that they hold their governments accountable. They hold their people that they vote to power or to office, I beg your pardon, accountable. So I think we need to start taking in accountability, and not just to people in government but also our bosses. We need accountability. For instance, I have worked in the most career limiting organizations, I believe. I don't know if somebody told me there is one worse than where I have been before, then listen, then it is a big problem. But what a lot of employers or owners of businesses don't do is hold the people that they put in those positions to transform their organizations accountable. They rarely do that. And a lot of people, or rather business owners, like to hear what they want to hear as opposed to listening to what is actually happening on ground. So for me, one of the things is, one, I would ask for business owners, start getting to know all your employees and ask them personally what their challenges are and what needs to be changed and what needs to be improved. Because what they do is they always hold assessment of the employees and never of the bosses. So who is going to assess the boss. It should be the people, the juniors working under that person to assess their boss. Are they helping the junior staff achieve their goals? That is number one. But again, I would like to tell you, if you're watching today right now and you're feeling discouraged, it's because you feel unfulfilled at your workplace. And that is because you're doing work that does not satisfy you. So if you aren't creating value the way you want to create value, then number one, find a way to create that value. Like I said, create alliances within your workplace and get people into a team and work together to, achieve the desired goal, or set goals that everybody can, be a part of, because when everybody is a part of something, then they can have a sense of identity, because this becomes my thing. It just doesn't become something that I am hired to come and, come and do. It becomes a thing of the whole group. Now, one other thing that is limiting a lot of people is that you do not plan for your career at all. You're like, I want to be a doctor, go to medical school, you study, and then from there you're like, now what next? You're just all over the place and you don't have a career path. Aggie mentioned that it's important to have mentors. Find yourself a mentor, somebody who is going to point you in the direction. Another career limiting thing that happens here in Uganda is gatekeeping. And what I mean by gatekeeping, you know what a gatekeeper is? This is a person who allows people to go in and out of a gate. So just take that terminology and put it into the workforce. A lot of people gatekeep, and you hold off, or rather close people off from opportunities that they could actually benefit from. We have a thing where a lot of people just don't want other people to prosper. Do you understand?
That's true.
You get,
true. Yeah.
you have, your employer is finding somebody else to come in to do work, and yet there are people within the team that can actually get the job done. It's an opportunity for them to grow, an opportunity for them to make more money. But people like to gatekeep and not help other people. That is absolutely awful. But back to career planning. The processes include self-assessment. Number two, you have to do thorough research for self-development. And number three, you have to come up with an action plan. Now, under self-assessment, this is the process that helps an individual in assessing his or her skills, potential strengths, and ability to fulfill their aims. As the name of the step suggests, a person assesses him or herself, and then based on that analysis and keeping his strengths and weaknesses in mind, you draft a plan. You must assess yourself. Number two, thorough research for self-development, I beg your pardon. Once an individual has listed down the careers that are favorable in his or her case, the skills and improvements that are required to achieve excellence in the third step require him to do intensive research. You must research. So don't just say you want to be a doctor and keep it at that. You must research. Find doctors that you admire. Find the field in medicine, because you just can't go and do everything. I mean, they are general practitioners, but I feel everybody is good at something. So find an area that you can specialize in. And then the last one is come up with an action plan. Once an individual has reached has researched the feasibility of the factors that he has finalized in the above steps, then the next step is to show some action and translate his plans on a piece of paper. Sometimes you just have to write it down. And always remind yourself, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. Keep on going. And I know you will find setbacks, roadblocks, dead ends along the path, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. If it keeps you up at night, that is your calling. That is all I have to say. If you're losing sleep because it is always nudging you at the back of your head that you have unfinished work, then go on and do it. Write it down, make it your screensaver, make it your profile picture that this is the plan to be a doctor. And when I say a doctor, I'm not just saying, I'm not saying everybody must be one, but whatever the case may be, you want to be a lawyer, an actor, a dancer, a singer, you want to own your own business, you want to be a journalist, you want to be an on-air personality, you want to be, whatever the case may be, write it down and always remind yourself. If you're feeling discouraged this morning, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes you need to pause. Sometimes you need to just abort mission and go back to the drawing board. Sometimes you pray. Aggie said, prayer is your friend. Prayer will keep you uplifted. And remember, there are people who have done it, so can you. I mean, if you can dream it, it is possible.
I wanted to talk about the issue of accountability, especially in Uganda. You said some countries, why they are better, you know, they don't have so many career limiting you know, situations, is because they hold their leaders accountable.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, because you also talked, one of the factors that that bring about career limitation is nepotism. Now, the other day, I mean, we had this conversation when, you know, the president appointed Jennifer Bamturaki as the, you know, the CEO of Uganda Airlines.
Yes.
So, she appeared, you know, in front. She appeared before Kosase, and you know they were, you know, trying to hold her accountable. You know, why did they appoint you when you don't have the required, you know,
qualifications
and all that? And what happened is the chairman of Kosase, Joel Senyonyi, yesterday, but one reported to CPS that there are people who were actually threatening his life. You don't want to die because, you know, you're trying to hold, you know, the country accountable, right? And this happens a lot in Uganda. I mean, that's one of the examples, but it happens a lot. So yes, you find, yes, you're trying to hold people. I mean, we're always trying to hold our leaders accountable. We're always saying it here, but it looks like something is lacking. Now, when it comes to Uganda, I don't know what we shall do. When it comes to the issue of accountability, because if we are trying to hold our leaders accountable, and then you're getting these mysterious phone calls of people threatening your life, there's people whose lives, you know, have been taken, you know, because so it's too much in Uganda. We just have a lot to do or to work on.
But again, for me, it just goes back to it's quite. We can't say that it's a hopeless situation. We can't sit back and say that then it was never going to change. Our children are going to go through this. Then our children's children. Then our children's children. Then our children's 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 children.
So what?
So we need to put a stop to it. We need to put a stop to it. Think about every or any civil rights leader. If they ever say that, you know what, I was threatened, I'm not taking this lightly, but I'm saying if the people who fought for us to have rights, for people who fought for us to be in a place where we can enjoy these rights and do the things that we want to do, if they also say to themselves, like, let's stop holding people accountable, it breaks down. I know it is not one thing that is going to happen just in one day, but if we start having a culture where we demand for you to make it make sense, accountability, I need a reason, why did this happen, why you? Why did you not do what was what you were supposed to do? Issues of corruption, we need to keep on holding people accountable. Issues of people, you know, overstaying in power or their work, you know, holding offices and not moving on and letting people, you know, other people have a chance to, then we're never going to move forward. We're never going, the unemployment rate is very big.
Yeah.
64% is a lot. That means we are holding back on our economy. It's not growing. And if our economy, and if the biggest population of people in the country are the youth, and the youth are unemployed, they're unskilled, they're uneducated, then
while the youth are unemployed, there is someone out there earning 87 million Uganda shillings, while even the company is not making that money. While the company is in debt, someone is still earning 87 million
There is
Uganda
something
shillings.
I want to highlight on. You mentioned something very interesting, but also you see, even as we are quick to say that as a country as Uganda is very career limiting, and you know, people are very quick to send their children abroad to study and also to work, you see, you're not saving the situation, because the more we give birth to children and say, you know, as a mom, as a parent, you want the best thing for your child, and you're like, you know, Uganda is limiting, let me take my child to another country to study and also to work. You're not helping the situation, because you see, you will not take everyone out of the country. You're taking your child away and not doing anything about the situation that is happening in your country. That is what Sarah was saying, that even us as Ugandans, I think we need to take up the mandate and stop calling this situation hopeless and ask the question, what are you doing about it? Or are you very quick to take your children out of the country and you leave? Are you going to take your whole generation? No. So the thing should be, let people study, let opportunities be created, let Uganda be open and, you know, create careers that can actually feed the next coming generation. But otherwise, if we keep running to the neighboring countries, we're not helping ourselves, we are developing them, and and yet these are our roots. This is our Uganda. Uganda is ours, it's not for any other person.
Oh, well.
That's true. Well, I'd like to hear what you have to say. This conversation continues on our social media platforms, and that is at CTV Uganda on Facebook and Twitter. Let me know, is working in Uganda career limiting, or what career limitations have you faced or challenges have you faced along your path to attaining your career success? I'm very curious to know. This conversation continues. This is Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.
Well, we come to the end of Sunrise at Sea, but before I do say goodbye, I'll leave you with a parting quote. This was given by Jack Hughes, and he said, "Respect yourself enough to say, I deserve peace. Walk away from people and things that prevent you from attaining it." So actually, that wraps up the entire show that we had for you this morning. Because it's a Monday, it's very important that you get motivated. But if you feel that what you're doing is not giving you peace, or is not giving you growth, or is not even paying your bills, then give yourself enough peace to walk away and find something better. It could be in terms of job, it could be in relationship, it could be even in terms of career. It is very important. Otherwise, from the ladies and I, and of course the team behind the scenes, we wish you a lovely, lovely, beautiful day. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea and don't blink.